All right, we'll say let's begin. Today's daf is Kuf Yud Aleph 111. We are picking up on the bottom of Kuf Yud 110b. We actually left off right at the last three words on the daf, Rav Papa Amar. So we'll say again, just to reorient ourselves a little bit. So the Gemara quoted an interesting halacha. The Gemara quoted just a few lines above. Hamanasech shloshes lugin mayim bechag b'chutz chayiv. If one goes ahead and does nisach hamayim, 3 lugin of water outside of the Beis Hamikdash, one will be chayiv. So remember again, yesterday we discussed about nisach hamayim, halacha l'Moshe misinai, how much water you actually have to go ahead and pour in order for you to be chayiv for ha'alah b'chutz. We discussed all of that yesterday. So now the Brisa says that if somebody goes ahead and does nisach on 3 lugin of water outside of the Beis Hamikdash on Sukkos, nisach hamayim you're chayiv. Rabbi Elazar and Shimon said, if you filled the kli l'shem chag for the purpose of nisach hamayim on Sukkos, then you're chayiv. So I wanted to know what exactly is the nafkamina between those two opinions. So Rav Papa says, top of Kuf Yudaf Rabbi saying, B'karvon usacham amibar pligi. That ultimately again the nekudas hamachlokes over here is whether or not nesachim were offered up in the midbar. Now Rashi explains, somewhat of a lengthy Rashi, but Rashi explains that what that actually means is what they're really arguing about is whether or not nesachim require a kli sharis. Does a nesach require a service utensil? Under normal circumstances, when doing something inside of the Beis Hamikdash, so one requires, let's say again, for example, Kabbalah. One has to receive the blood, sacrificial blood, in a kli sharis, in a service utensil. So the shaila over here is, ultimately again, do nesachim require a kli sharis or not? So Rashi points out that the Tanakama holds that mayim, water for nisach hamayim, does not require a kli sharis. Versus Rabbi Elazar holds that, and therefore, both say, even if you went ahead and you poured the water outside of the Beis Hamikdash from a non-kli sharis utensil, one would still be chayiv ultimately for nisuch. That's the Tanakama. Rabbi Elazar, on the other hand, holds that halacha l'maisa you're not chayiv for ha'alah b'chutz, unless of course you use a kli sharis. Ravina says, we'll say just another interpretation of the machlokes. Ravina Amar, b'lemeidin nisuch hamayim mi nisuch hayayin pligi. We'll say Ravina says they know what they're arguing about is, do we learn out the halachos ultimately again of nisuch hamayim from nisuch hayayin? And I will say if that's the machlokes, then ultimately, again, we spoke about that a little bit yesterday, about whether or not all of the details of Nisuch HaMayim apply to Nisuch HaYayin, just the opposite. Nisuch HaYayin apply to Nisuch HaMayim, that'll be the point of contention. Good. Turn Rabbanan. We'll say weiter. Hamanaseh shlosha lugin yayin b'chutz chayiv. If someone goes ahead and pours 3 lugin of water outside of the Beis Hamikdash, they will be chayiv. I'm sorry, yayin, thank you. Yayin. Person goes in and spills 3 lugin of wine outside of the Beis Hamikdash, they will be chayiv. So the Gemara Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Shimon Omer, v'hu shekidshan b'kli. So Rabbi Shimon says, that is assuming that one was mekadesh them, that one sanctified the 3 lugin of water inside a kli. And both say, now obviously, if Rabbi Elazar Rabbi Shimon is coming to make this statement, it must mean that what? He's coming to be mosif something on the Tanakama. So the shaila is, what is it that he's coming to be mosif? What is it that he's coming to add? So my benai, what is the practical difference between these two opinions? Amrav Ada Barav Yitzchak, Beirutse Midos Ika Ben Abos. This is actually very interesting. So we'll see, you know what the nafkamina is? The nafkamina is what happens if you have overflow in the kli. Take a look at Rashi for just a moment. It's the last of the short lines in Rashi. And it goes right into the first of the widest lines. Beirutse Midos, Mashet Saf al Svas HaKli. So we'll say, here's the shaila. The shaila is if you fill up a kli sharis. If you fill up a kli sharis with yayin, and let's say the wine goes ahead and goes above. So with liquid, you have surface tension. So surface tension actually allows you to go ahead and you could fill the liquid. You see this, right? Mamish, if you want to see, just go to Dunkin' Donuts, right? Mamish, they're very nice sometimes. They fill up the coffee all the way. If you notice something very interesting, that the liquid could extend over the lip of the utensil, that's called surface tension. So as I say, the shaila is, what is the status ultimately again of the liquid which extends over the top of the kli. That's called Beirutzi Amidos. Mashetzaf al svasa kli. V'tarvayu kedushas kli bo. So we'll say both Rabbanan, as well as Rav Adav, Rav Yitzchak, as well as Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Shimon, both require a kli. You require a kli sharis ultimately again for. You require a kli sharis to be makadesh the yayin for nisuch hayayin. So what's their machlokas? Mi Rabbanan Savri, first wide line in Rashi. Mi Rabbanan Savri, Beirutze midos shalach niskachu. So the Rabbanan hold Rabosai that even overflow, meaning additional amounts of liquid, in this case yayin, are sanctified. Rabbi Elazar Savar lo niskachu v'toch kli ba'inon uplukta detanoihi b'menachas. So Rabbi Elazar on the other hand holds that no, it is only that which is contained within the walls of the kli that is sanctified, but that which extends above the walls of the kli ultimately again is not kodesh. So we'll say the nafkamina between that is what? The nafkamina is very simple. Can you go ahead and skim off the stuff that's above the walls of the kli and use it for your own purposes? According to the Rabbanan, the answer is no. Whatever is contained in the kli, even not in the walls of the kli, is kadosh. But ultimately, again, according to Rabbi Shimon Elazar, only that which is in the walls of the kli is kadosh. That which extends above the walls is not kadosh. Good. Rabba berei dirabba. Berei dirabba Amar. So let's listen to this. So another interpretation of this machlokes. So Rabba berei dirabba Amar karvu nisachim bibama ika benayu. So we'll say ultimately again, Rabbi Rabba says the machlok between the Rabbanan and Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Shimon is whether or not nisachim can be offered up in a bama. Uplukta dahani tanoi. And the reality is the machlok between the Rabbanan and Rabbi Shimon Elazar. I keep saying that. The machlok between the Rabbanan and Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Shimon is the same machlokes as the following machlokes time. Get ready. Disanya. Bamas yachid. So let's remember again, when speaking about bamos, we speak about two different types of bamos. There's a Bama Gedola and a Bama Yachid. Bama Gedola means the Mizbeach that was used, or I should say the Bama that was used for central communal service. So for example, again, that was the altar that was in Nov, that was in Givon. So that's a Bama Gedola. Bama Ketana means a private use altar. So the Shaila is as follows. Bamas Yachid. We'll say, what about the Bama of an individual? The bama of an individual. So the Gemara says, bamas yachid ina tzricha nesachim. The Rebbe holds that a bamas yachid Rabosai does not require nesachim. The Chachamim say tuna nesachim. The Chachamim say no, you offer up nesachim even on a bamas yachid. V'hani tanoi, kahani tanoi. And Rabosai, the reality is that this machlokes in Rebbe and the Chachamim is like another machlokes tanaim disanya. Here we go. The pasuk says ki savo. Both the pasuk says, "Ki savol eretz Moshe seichem asharni no sein lochem." Torah goes on to discuss the laws of karbanos el nesachim. So ki savo lahat ino nesachim bibama gidola kasav medaber. Both the Torah is coming to tell me that when I come to Eretz Yisrael, and ultimately again we set up a bama gidola, a centralized altar, or I should say an altar for centralized service. We offer up nesachim on that mizbeach. Take a look at Rashi also for just a moment. 4 lines down in the wide lines of Rashi. Ki savo beparshas nesachim ksib shlach lecha. So both say, so this parsha, this ki savo is talking about the parsha nesachim, the parsha of libations, which is right after the Chet HaMeraglim. So Rashi says, lat ino nesachim b'magidola, pa kasav l'amdecha shelo karvu nesachim b'midbar. So the Torah is teaching me as follows. When we were in the desert, apparently we didn't offer up nesachim, and the Torah is therefore telling me, ki savo, when you come to Eretz Yisrael. Now again, Chosh Baruch Hu knows when we come to Eretz Yisrael, we're not going to have a Beis HaMikdash immediately, so we're going to have a Bama Gidola. We're going to have a Bama that is used for centralized carbonic service. When you have that Bama Gidola, offer up nesachim on it. So the Gemara says, "Atom Bama Gidola, oh Eino Ela Afilu Bama Kitana." So now the Gemara says, "But one second, you're telling me that the din of Nesachim applies on a Bama Gidola. Maybe it also applies on a Bama Kitana. I'll tell you why that's not possible. Kishu Omer El Eretz Moshvo Seichem Asher Ani No Sein Lochem Hare Bibama Hanoheges Lekulchem Akasav Medaver Di Rabbi Shmuel." So as Rabbi Shmuel says, that remember again, the phraseology of the pasuk is such that we're talking about Klal Yisrael. Kisavo, when you come to the land that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives you, Eretz Moshe Sechem, the land that you're going to settle, Asher Ani Nosein Lochem. Everything is phrased as it applies to the collective. As such, again, when the Torah is talking about Nesachim, it makes sense ultimately, again, that the Nesachim that we're talking about are Nesachim that are going to be offered up on behalf of the collective. Where the Nesachim are going to be offered up on the behalf of the collective, that is going to be on the Bama Gedola and not on the Bama Ketana. These are the words of Rabbi Yishmael. Rabbi Kiva says, no, Ki Sava'u Lahat'ina Nesachim Bebama Ketana Kosav Medaber. Rabbi Kiva, on the other hand, says, no, that Halacha L'Maisa, the pasuk is actually coming to teach me that Nesachim, when they come into Eretz Yisrael, Nesachim will apply even on a Bama Kitanos. Even if you have your own private altar in your backyard, you are going to offer up not only animal sacrifices there, but ultimately Nesachim as well. So the Gemara, look at Rashi just a moment. It's about 8 lines down in Rashi, in the wide lines. Rabbi Kiva Omer, Latino Nesachim Bama Kitana, Da Gidola Lo Itztrach, Taba Midbar Nami Kravi. So both Rashi gives us kind of coming attractions over here. Rabbi Kiva is going to be of the opinion that Allah Lamai said they were already offering up Nesachim in the Midbar on the Bama Gidola. So as such, when the pasuk now comes to be mechandish something, the pasuk tells you something additional is going to occur when we enter into Eretz Yisrael. It can't be that Nesachim are going to be offered up on the Bama Gidola because it's already happening in the Midbar. Elamai has to be that what? That once we come into Eretz Yisrael, Nesachim will be offered up on the Bama Kitana. So therefore, going to be Kiva Omer Kisavo, when the pasuk of Kisavo, Latino Nesachim Bama Kitana Kosum Medaber. That's coming to teach me that Halacha L'Maisa, when we come into Eretz Yisrael, we're going to offer up Nesachim even on a private altar. So the Gemara says, Atom the Bama Kitana, O Eino Ela the Bama Gidola. So Rabbi Kiva says, I'm telling you now that this applies to the Bama Kitana. Maybe you'll say, no, the pasuk is only coming to teach me that Nesachim are offered up on the Bama Gidola. I'll tell you the problem. Kishu Omer El Eretz Moshe Vosechem. When the pasuk says that you will come into Eretz Moshe Vosechem, Hari Bibama Hanoheges Bechol Moshavos Hakosum Medaber. So this is amazing. So as Rabbi Shmuel understood Eretz Moshe Vosechem to be something which applies to the collective, Rabbi Akiva understands Eretz Moshe Vosechem to mean you will build a bama, or I should say you will offer up Nesachim wherever you live. Bechol Moshavos, which means what Rabbi was saying? Even on your Bama Kitana. You will offer up Nesachim even on your Bama Kitana. So the Gemara says, so now, by the way, this is a really riveting machlokes, because this machlokes is a twofold machlokes. Number one, it's a fundamental machlokes as to whether or not Nesachim were offered up in the Midbar. So it's a historical machlokes. We know we offered karbanos, that we know, but the parsha ultimately again of Nesachim is phrased after the parshas Hameraglim, and it's phrased as kisavo, when you come into the land. Rabbi Yishmael says they're not offering up Nesachim in the Midbar, and therefore the pasuk is coming to teach me that when you come into Eretz Yisrael, you offer up Nesachim, but where? On the Bama Gidola, right? Rabbi Akiva says no, they are offering up Nesachim in the Midbar, and the pasuk, the novelty of the pasuk of Kisavo is what? B'chol Moshvo Sechem, that wherever you are, and i.e. wherever you build your personal bamos, that's where you have the ability to offer up Nesachim as well. So really amazing. A historical machlokes and a Midbar machlokes and an Eretz Yisrael machlokes. Amazing. So the Gemara says, Kishatim Salomar Div Rabbi Yishmael. So the Gemara says, Kishatim Salomar Div Rabbi Yishmael Lo Kirvu Nesachim HaMidbar, Lo Div Rabbi Akiva Kirvu Nesachim HaMidbar. Therefore, we'll say the Gemara just says over here. So it turns out that initial machlokes that we had, the Gabi Nesachim, turns out again to be a dramatic machlokes, like we just said before, regarding that which was done in the Midbar. That ultimately, according to Rabbi Yishmael, they did not offer up Nesachim in the Midbar, and according to Rabbi Akiva, ultimately again they did. So we'll say, so now remember again, the Gemara just says, so the Gemara wanted to suggest that, remember how we got to this. We got to this because the Brisa said, Hamanase shlosha lugin bayayin, shlosha lugin yayin b'chutz chayiv, behusha kitchen b'kli. So I'll say, so the shaila is whether or not you need a kli shares, ultimately, again, for nisuch hayayin b'chutz. So we'll say what the Gemara wants to suggest is, what is that rooted in? That's rooted in whether or not, okay, follow this. That's rooted in whether or not there was Nisuch Hayayin on a Bamas Yachid. So I'll say, if you hold that Nisuch Hayayin was done on private altars, then by definition it tells you that you don't require what? You don't require Kli Sharis. Because remember again, Kli Sharis is a din ultimately in a Bama Gedola, in a Beis HaMikdash. So if you hold that Nisuch Hayayin was done on a Bamas Yachid, that means you don't need a Kli Sharis. If you don't need a Kli Sharis, then by definition that would be the case ultimately again if a Menaseh Shlosha Yayin Lugim B'chutz would be Chayiv. Rabbi Elazar says V'husha Kitchen B'kli. Rabbi Elazar says you're Chayiv if you do it B'chutz only if you first sanctified the 3 Lugin of wine in a Kli. So by definition, what does he hold? The Gemara is suggesting what does he hold? He holds Yayin Nesach requires. No, I'm sorry, not Yayin Nesach. Right, Nisuch Hayayin requires a Kli. We'll say if he holds that Nisuch Hayayin requires a Kli, then what does that mean? That there was never Nisuch Hayayin on a Bamas Yachid. Nisuch Hayayin was only done on the Bama Gedola, and as such was always sanctified in the Kli Sharis. Good. So says the Gemara. Rabbi Nechemia Omer, Shiare Hadam, Shekikrivan B'chutz Chai. So let's remember again, this was the last part of the Mishnah. Rabbi Nechemia said that if you take the leftover blood, so let's remember again, Shiare Hadam represents the leftover blood after the hazos, after the sprinkling was done. So now I did my hazos, I did my sprinkling, and now halacha l'maaseh again I have leftover blood. So Rabbi Nechemia says, if you offer up that blood outside of the Beis Hamikdash, you are chayiv for doing zrika b'chutz, doing karbanos outside. Rabbi Yochanan. So Rabbi Yochanan says as follows: Rabbi Nechemia kedivrei ha'omer shirayim ma'akvin. So Rabbi Yochanan says that Rabbi Nechemia holds like the opinion that shirayim Rabosai, that what you do with the leftover blood is ma'akev in the sacrificial service. Take a look at Rashi for just a moment. It's about 12 lines up from the bottom. Ten Rabbi Nechemia, b'masnisin kedivrei ha'omer be'ezu mekoman, shiyare hadam ma'akvin bechatos, hilchach avodahi l'schayev aleh b'chutz kishar zorik miktzastam. Who says Rabbi Nechemia is of the opinion that when you have leftover blood, there is a din to pour it by the yisod. There is a halacha to pour it by the base of the mizbeach, and this is part of the avodah to the point that if you didn't do it, then what? The carbon would be compromised. So we'll say, so therefore again it makes sense that Rabbi Nechemia holds that if you take the leftover blood, even though I already did the sprinkling on the inside, so we'll say, remember again, the way we normally hold is that once zerika is done by a carbon, then what? Then what? You're done. You're done. It doesn't matter what you do afterwards. Rabbi Nechemia is of the opinion that no, that shirayim are me'akvin, that the pouring out of the leftover blood is part of the sacrificial service, and failure to do so compromises the carbon. Therefore, if you take the leftover blood and you offer it up outside of the Beis Hamikdash, you will be chayiv. Amar Rabbi Akiva. So Rabbi Akiva says as follows: V'halo shiare hadam shiare mitzvahim. So Rabbi Akiva says, I don't understand, but the leftover blood will say shiare mitzvah means it's not ma'akiv. It's not ma'akiv. I understand that it's nice to pour it by the yisod, but if you don't do so, it's not ma'akiv. So he said back to Rabbi Akiva, Eivarim upedarim yochichu. So Rabbi Nechemia says back to Rabbi Akiva, I'll prove that you're from Eivarim B'darim. We'll say Eivarim B'darim are the sacrificial parts that have to be burnt on the Mizbeach. Shehein Shir Mitzvah. We'll say, and remember, the Eivarim and B'darim, burning the leftover fats and limbs, we'll say, if you fail to do it, is the carbon compromised? And the answer is no. The answer is no. The carbon is still valid even if you fail to go ahead and burn the Eivarim and B'darim. But yet, V'makrivan b'chutz chayiv. Yet, we'll say, if you offer them up outside of the Beis Hamikdash, you will be chayiv. So what do you see from here? You see from here that halacha l'maisa, even if you offer up something outside of the Beis Hamikdash, even if that item is not ma'akev, it's not necessarily integral for temple sacrificial service, you will still be chayiv for ha'ala b'chutz. Amar lo, to Rabbi Akiva responds lo, im amrit be'ivar b'darim shein tchilas avoda, tamar b'shiyare hadam shein an tchilas avoda. See, here's the difference, because one could claim that the burning of the Eivarim b'darim will say, at least, it's an avoda unto itself, what he calls a tchilas avoda. In other words, that it's part of the sacrificial process. It's the beginning of another stage of the sacrificial process. Granted, it might not be ma'akev, meaning it might not be an absolute necessity, but at the end of the day, it's a haschala of a brand new sacrificial process. However, again, by the pouring out of the blood, Rabosai, that's like the tail end of the blood service. And again, Rabbi Akiva is saying, therefore, it's not ma'akev. Because it's not ma'akev and it's the tail end of the blood service, if you did it outside, you shouldn't be chayiv. Vimisa, leimale, hani nami me'akvi. ultimately again, and if it was true, as you said before, that Rabbi Nechemia holds that Shiyarei Hadam are really ma'akev, then why doesn't Rabbi Nechemia just answer that back to Rabbi Akiva? To which the Gemara says tiyufta. It's a good refutation. I was about to say, what the Gemara is saying over here is as follows. There's this argument happening between Rabbi Nechemia and Rabbi Akiva, and yet again, the one piece, Rabbi Akiva keeps trying to say, I don't understand why pouring out of the leftover blood outside of the base of Mikdash, so offering it up, is going to make you chayiv for Allah, because after all, that blood is not ma'akev. Rabbi Nechemia starts arguing with him in every way, but yet the one thing that Rabbi Nechemia fails to say is what would be the argument closer, which is that I hold Shiyarei Hadam is ma'akev. And I will say that remembers what Rabbi Yochanan suggested at the beginning of this Gemara. The fact that Rabbi Nechemia doesn't suggest that would seem to indicate that what? That Rabbi Yochanan is wrong. And in fact, Rabbi Nechemia may not hold that Shiyarei Hadam is ma'akev. V'hashta da amarav adavar ava machlokis b'shayim penimim. So we'll say, Rav Adavar Ava says that the machlokis about shirayim is only about blood that is offered up, penimim, inside of the what we call the chatas hapnimis, right, which is the avodah of Yom Kippur. So ultimately, again, now that he said that is that blood, that is the machlokes. Aval b'shar machitzonim divrei akolo makvi. But everyone agrees. We've all said that shirayim from karbanos that are offered up I'm going to say outside of the basement, I mean outside of the heichal, right? Ultimately, again, are ma'akev. Then the Gemara says, I'm sorry, let me say that again. Now that Rav Adavar Ava said the machlokes b'shayim penimim, that the machlokes ultimately again is only from inside shirayim. Aval b'shayim achitzonim divrei akol lo ma'akvi. I will say that for shirayim from outside of the heichal, ultimately again everyone agrees that it's not ma'akev. Then the way you could interpret it is Ki kam Rabbi Nechemia b'shayim hapnimim. That ultimately you're going to say Rabbi Nechemia's statement in the Mishnah that Shiyarei Hadam Shekrivu B'chutz Chayiv is talking about what type of Shirayim? Shirayim Pnimiyim, right? Leftover blood, I will say, that should have been applied or that was applied inside of the Beis HaMikdash. That's the blood ultimately, again, that Rabbi Nechemia says, if you offer the rest of it up outside of the Beis HaMikdash, that one will be chayiv for that. I'm sorry. And ultimately, again, in the conversation with Rabbi Akiva, they're talking about Shirayim Chitzonim. We'll say Sidishita Mikubetzes changes the girsa, the next girsa, to read Ihachi Nemalei Ki Amri Ana Bepnimim. So if that's the case again, then why doesn't Rabbi Nechemia say to Rabbi Akiva, when I said my statement that if you offer up the leftover blood outside of the Beis HaMikdash, that one will be chayiv for Allah b'chutz, why doesn't he say to Rabbi Akiva, ultimately again, I'm talking about Shirayim Pnimiyim, why doesn't he say that? To which the Gemara says, L'divrei Rabbi Akiva ka'amar, because ultimately again Rabbi Nechemia was responding in accordance with Rabbi Akiva's argument. Rabbi Akiva does not necessarily agree with the look at Rashi for just a moment. Rabbi Akiva ka'amar, 4 lines up from the bottom. L'didi Shirayim me'akvin. According to Rabbi Nechemia says, Shirayim are me'akvin. L'didach nami da'amrit shiari mitzvahein hekter evarim yochiach. So we'll say, so Rabbi Nechemia is arguing in Rabbi Akiva's logic, and therefore again does not simply advance his own point. Fine. So we'll say, so good. So just you should know, halacha l'maisa, Rambam doesn't pass like Rabbi Nechemia, and holds that by Shiyarei Hadam, whatever kind of Shiyarei Hadam it is, after Zerika has been done, halacha l'maisa, the blood service has been discharged, and if you were to take the rest of that blood and go ahead and sprinkle it outside of the Beis HaMikdash, one would not be chayiv for ha'alah b'chutz. Good. Says, I'm sorry, no me'ila on it either. Correct. So Mishnah. Hamolek esofer. We'll say, so now we're back to a little bit of the oaf, the bird offering. So we actually made reference to this Mishnah a few days ago. Hamolek es ha'of bifnim. So we'll say if one does malika on the bird inside of the Beis HaMikdash, ve'ha'ala b'chutz. And then what happens? Well, so it's actually an interesting case. He did malika on the inside, so he did malika inside the Beis HaMikdash, but then he offers it up, he puts it on the Mizbeach outside of the Beis HaMikdash. So what happens? What's the halacha? Chayiv. Such a person ultimately again will be chayiv. Malak b'chutz, ve'ha'ala b'chutz. But we'll say if he did malika outside of the Beis HaMikdash and also offered it up outside of the Beis HaMikdash, then what's the halacha? Potter. It's potter. Now why is that? Look at Rashi just a moment. Malak b'chutz. Nevelahi she'ein malika ela bifnim. Also because again, the concept of malika does not exist outside of the Beis Hamikdash. Therefore, again, when he does malika outside of the Beis Hamikdash, the bird becomes an avela. Lefichach patr al ha'alasa va'amalikasu nami patr kedarmi yesh pirkin. So we'll say so again. Fine. So therefore, malika inside, hala outside, chayiv. Malika outside, hala outside, patr. Hashochet esa'of bifnei. Both said, here's the novelty case. What if one did shchita on the bird inside the Beis Hamikdash, v'ha'ela b'chutz, and you offer it up outside the Beis Hamikdash? We'll say, what's the halacha? Pater. We'll say, now what's the logic behind that? Remember again, there is no such thing as shchita in an oath. There is no such thing as shchita by an oath. Only malika. Remember, we'll say, here's the principle. In order to be chayiv for doing something b'chutz, the very thing that you are doing b'chutz has to have had the ability to be done bifnim. If it doesn't have the ability to be done bifnim, then by definition you're not chayiv for Allah b'chutz. Because there's no such concept as shchita by oath, if you shechted the carbon, now remember it's very important, if you shechted the oath, this is bifnim, inside the basement of the Shabbosai, so again, that it's now irrelevant, because there's no such thing as shchita as oath bifnim, so therefore again, it's invalid, it's an avela. Therefore, even if you subsequently go ahead and offer it up outside the Beis Hamikdash, it's irrelevant and you're pater. So we'll say Amud Beis. Shachat b'chutz v'hela b'chutz. We'll say what happens if a person went ahead and shechted it outside and offered up outside. So we'll say, watch this, chayiv. Now we'll say, now this is the novelty case. Now I shechted the bird outside, offered it up outside. I'm going to be chayiv. So we'll say nimsa. So we'll say first. I'll take a look at Josh just a moment. Shim shachat b'chutz v'hela b'chutz chayiv. Af al ha'ala shchita b'chutz ba'of Rabbi Rachmana me'o asher yishchat. Remember again, we had this a few days ago. We learned from the drasha. We're going to see it again, that halacha l'maisa, even though there's no such thing as a bird shechting inside, no bird shechita inside the Beis Hamikdash, the Torah, there's a riboy that we're going to see that includes shechita of a bird outside. So the great anomaly over here is, if I shech the bird inside, there's no issue of shchutei chutz. If I shech the bird outside, there is an issue of shchutei chutz, even though there is no such concept of shchita by a bird. Nimtza derech hechsheru b'fnim p'torah b'chutz. So also, therefore, it turns out that which ultimately again derech hechsheru b'fnim, we'll say that which ultimately again is its derech hechsheru. We're going to explain this klal in the Gemara. Ultimately paters you b'chutz, derech hechshera mi b'chutz, patura mi b'fnim. The way in ultimately which it's kosher on the inside will pater you on the outside. We'll see what that klal means. Rabbi Shimon says, kol shechayavin alav b'chutz, chayavin al kiyotze bo b'fnim. Shimon says, no, here's the principle. Anything that you are chayiv b'chutz, so say you're only going to be chayiv if what? If you would be chayiv for the same avoda b'fnim. Shehela b'chutz. So we'll say the only time you're chayiv b'chutz is if you would have done the same type of avoda b'fnim and now you're doing it b'chutz, that's when you're chayiv. Chutz, with one exception. I will say, to say that simpler, Rav Shimon just says that in order to be chayiv for anything b'chutz, the same avoda would have had to have been valid if done b'fnim. The one exception to this rule is chutz min ha-shochei b'fnim u'ma'ala b'chutz. But also the one exception to this rule is the exception we just said before, that if one shechted a bird inside the Beis Hamikdash and offered up outside the Beis Hamikdash, what's the halacha? The halacha is your pater. But yet, if you shechted outside and offered up outside, you will be chayiv. That's the only exception to the rule. Says the Gemara. So, hai hechshero chiyuvahu. So the Gemara says, I don't understand why the Gemara used lashon of hechsher, right? When it's talking about the klal, it says nimsa derech hechshero b'fnim p'tur b'chutz. It's not hechsher, it's chiyuvo. It's talking about when you're obligated, when you're liable. To which the Gemara says, enachanami, you're right, tani chiyuvo. Taking the word hechsher ultimately again to chiyuv. Rabbi Shimon says, ahei. So also now the Gemara says, what Rav Shimon is commenting on the Mishnah. He's commenting on one of the aforementioned statements. Ahei, which earlier statement ultimately is he commenting on? Ilema aresha. If you want to say he's talking about the first part of the Mishnah, hamolik of bifnim vehela b'chutz chayiv. So ultimately, again, if a person does malika, on the off inside the Beis Hamikdash, and then goes in and offers it up outside of the Beis Hamikdash, chayiv. Malak b'chutz vehela b'chutz pater. If he did malika outside and hala outside, he's going to be pater. Va'amar li Reb Shimon, and Reb Shimon says, ki echi dipnim mechayiv. B'chutz not mechayiv. Rabbi Shimon argues on this and he says, no, whatever you would be chayiv for bifnim, i.e. malika, Malika and Ha'ala, you should be chayiv if you do it b'chutz also. If that's the case, then what Rav Shimon should have said is, Hi, kol shechayavan alav b'chutz. It shouldn't have said kol shechayavan alav b'chutz. What should it have said? Kol shechayavan alav b'fnim mi b'ilei. Rav Shimon's lashon haba should have been anything that you would be chayiv for on the inside, you're chayiv for on the outside. Therefore, again, if you did malika and ha'ala on the outside, you should be chayiv because you'll be chayiv for those very avodos on the inside. Elo ki echi de b'chutz lo mechayiv b'fnim nami lo mechayiv. Rather, maybe Rav Shimon is coming to say as follows. That ultimately, again, what in the same way you're not chayiv b'chutz, you also will not be chayiv b'fnim. If that's the case, hay kol she'in chayavan alav b'chutz mi b'ilei. If that's the case, then Rav Shimon should have just changed around this formulation to say anything that you're not chayiv for b'chutz. Ela asifakoy. Rather, Rav Shimon is coming to comment on the latter part of the Mishnah. Hashochet of b'fnim v'ha'ela b'chutz pater. If one shechts a bird on the inside the Beis HaMikdash, and then offers it up outside the Beis HaMikdash, he will be pater. Why? But on the other hand, shachat b'chutz v'ha'ela b'chutz chayiv. If he shechted the bird outside and offered it up outside, he will be chayiv. Rav Shimon says no. Ki echi dibifnim lo mechayiv. B'chutz nami lo b'chayiv. Shimon argues on that point. We'll say specifically that last one of shachat b'chutz and hela b'chutz, which the Tanna Kama held you're chayiv. Shimon comes along and says, no, I don't understand. If you're the same way that you wouldn't be chayiv b'fnim, you shouldn't be chayiv b'chutz. So we'll say if shchita by oath doesn't work b'fnim, then it shouldn't work b'chutz either. To which one says, well, if that's the case, hay kol she'in chayovin mi b'ilei. Then ultimately, again, Rav Shimon should have phrased it as anything that you're not chayiv for. Elo ki echi de b'chutz mechayiv b'fnim nami mechayiv. Rather, we'll say what Rav Shimon means to say is as follows. The same way ki echi de b'chutz chayiv, whatever ultimately, again, you'll be chayiv for b'chutz, b'fnim you should also be chayiv. So the Gemara says, hakatani chutz min hashochet b'fnim v'hama'ale b'chutz. Ultimately, again, but yet we learn that what does it say? With the exception of that which is shechted bifnim and ultimately offered up b'chutz. To which the Gemara says, what's the machlokes? Amar Ziri, shchitas behema balayla ikevenayos. So we'll say Ziri suggests that ultimately, again, what's that play over here, or the nafkamina would be, what happens if you went ahead and you shechted an animal at night? Now watch this. V'achi kamar, hashochet behema bifnim balayla. If someone went ahead and shechted an animal inside the Beis HaMikdash at night, v'ha'ela b'chutz, and then you offer it up outside of the Beis HaMikdash, what's the halacha? We'll say pater. We'll say, now why are you pater in that case? Because there's no such thing as sacrificial shechita at night. Therefore, by definition, remember again, you could only be chayiv for something b'chutz if the same exact act would have been liable bifnim. On the other hand, shachat b'chutz balayla v'ha'ela b'chutz chayiv. Yet Rabbi say, what's the halacha? The halacha ultimately is if you were to go ahead and shecht it outside at night and offer it up outside, you would be chayiv. Now look at Rashi for just a moment. Take a look. It's the first wide line in Rashi. First of the widest lines on the bottom. So shachat b'chutz v'ha'ela b'chutz chayiv. Why is that? The b'shchitas chutz Loshna laila miyom da roihu lavo apesach o amoid lamachar ubalaso nami chayiv daksis. Wants to listen to this. So Tanna Kama suggests that Allah l'maaseh when it comes to shchutei chutz, there is no distinction between nighttime and daytime, right? Because again, halach l'maaseh, when the halach l'maaseh, what the Gemara says over here, da roihu lavo apesach o amoid. Because technically speaking, the criteria is this a fit karban or not? And because technically it would be fit to be brought to the entrance of the Oal Moed the next morning, therefore the Tanna Kama suggests that one would be chayav for shchutei chutz in this circumstance. Reb Shimon comes along and argues on this, and he says absolutely not. Kol shechayavan alav b'chutz, chayavan al kiyotze b'fnim ve'ala b'chutz. So Reb Shimon says, no, that's not true. That's not the way this works. In order to be chayiv, ultimately, again, for b'chutz, the same exact avoda has to be chayiv, or has to be fit if done b'fnim. Therefore, again, when you do shchita b'layla, Rabbosai, shchita b'layla b'fnim is puzzle. It doesn't exist. So because it doesn't exist, there can't be liability b'chutz either. Chutz min with one exception, Reb Shimon has an exception. Chutz min hashochet of bifnim v'hela b'chutz. So I'll say ultimately again, Reb Shimon says, I just want to point out. So the Gemara, we're just trying to figure out what is the Nekudas HaMachlokes over here between Reb Shimon and the Tana Kama? So the first opinion is, the Machlokes of all says in a case of Shchutei Chutz Balayla. So the Rabbanon say, Shchutei Chutz Balayla, ultimately again, Shchutei Chutz Balayla will still be chayiv for Shchita and Ha'ala B'chutz. Reb Shimon says, no, it won't, because in order to be chayiv for Allah, for Shchita, for Avoda B'chutz, it has to mirror Avoda B'fnim exactly. I also just want to point out, even Reb Shimon has one exception to his rule. What's his one exception to the rule? Oaf. We'll say everyone will subscribe to the oaf exception. The oaf exception is that shchita of an oaf, bachutz, halah bachutz, will be chayiv. And we'll talk about that independently. Rava says, Kabbalah b'kli chol ikavena. We'll say, in fact, the point of contention, the Machlokes, the Tana Kama, and Reb Shimon is also is in the case ultimately again of Kabbalah b'kli chol. So Kabbalah sadam in a non-kli shares utensil. So this is what it means to say. Hamakabel b'kli chol bifnim. If somebody did Kabbalah in a non-kli shares inside the Beis Hamikdash, v'heh lebachutz, and then went ahead and offered it up outside of the Beis Hamikdash, pater. Ultimately, we'll say a person will be pater. Okay, because remember again, you didn't do a valid avoda if you did not go ahead and once you were makabel it in a kli chol inside the Beis Hamikdash, the whole thing is disqualified. There's nothing more to talk about. On the other hand, hamakabel b'kli chol b'chutz v'ha'ala b'chutz chayiv. Say if you did Kabbalah in a non-kli sharis b'chutz, also what this means is I did shchita b'chutz, Kabbalah b'kli chol in a non-kli sharis b'chutz. So v'ha'ala b'chutz, and then I offered up outside the Beis Hamikdash. The Tana Kama holds chayiv. Why, Rabbosai? Very simply, Tana Kama holds because Rabbosai there is no din of kli sharis outside of the Beis Hamikdash. So because there's no din of kli sharis, it doesn't make a difference. If I did Kabbalah and a kli chol, I'm still going to be chayiv for Kabbalah, for shchita, for ha'ala b'chutz. Reb Shimon says no. Kol shechayaven alav b'chutz chayaven al kiyotze bifno bifnim v'ha'ala b'chutz. Reb Shimon says absolutely not. In order to be chayiv b'chutz, Rabbosai, the same act has to be chayiv. The exact same act has to be chayiv if done bifnim. Because ultimately, again, if you did Kabbalah in a non-kli sharis, in a kli chol bifnim, that would be halachically irrelevant. Therefore, you're not chayiv for doing it b'chutz as well. Chutz, okay, again, and Reb Shimon has the same exception every time. Chutz min hashochet of bifnim ve'alo b'chutz. With the exception of Osai of Of is the one exception, says even Reb Shimon agrees, where even though that which you do outside does not mirror that which you do inside, you will still be chayiv. Hashta detani avua d'shmo bar Rabbi Yitzchak. So I'll say, now that we learned that what Avua d'shmo named Bar Rabbi Yitzchak said, hamolek of bifnim ve'alo b'chutz chayiv. So we'll say if you do malika on an oath inside the Beis Hamikdash, and then you offer it up outside the Beis Hamikdash, you will be chayiv. Malak b'chutz, ve'ela b'chutz pater. But yet, if you were to go ahead and do malika b'chutz, and you offer it up b'chutz, you'll be pater. Reb Shimon mechayiv. And Reb Shimon ultimately, again, will say that you're chayiv in that case, I will say. Now, the logic behind that seems to me, why does Reb Shimon say that you're chayiv? Ultimately, again, because it will say a case of malika b'chutz and Kabbalah and ha'ala b'chutz mirrors that which is done inside the Beis Hamikdash, to which the Gemara says, Reb Shimon, hasam kai, v'tani kol shechayavan ala bifnim, v'ha'ala b'chutz, chayavan ala b'chutz. Because Reb will say again, to which the Gemara says, now it makes sense, because it's Reb Shimon l'shita. So, Reb Shimon ultimately, again, is coming off his statement in the Mishnah, and Reb Shimon is a purist. Reb Shimon ultimately holds that anything that is done outside of the Beis Hamikdash, by definition, again, will be chayiv, if it mirrors that which is done inside of the Beis Hamikdash. So we'll say, so fundamental machlokes, ultimately, again, between Reb Shimon and the Tana Kama, specifically regarding how much does avoda b'chutz have to mirror that which is done bifnim in order to go ahead and be chayiv for chutz. The Tana Kama, the Rabban Abosai, clearly holds that it has to mirror it, but it doesn't have to mirror it in totality. V'haraya, the Rabbanon would seem to say that you're chayiv for a case of shchita balayla. The Rabbanon would seem to say that you're chayiv for a case of Kabbalah in a non-kli sharis. Versus Rav Shimon Rabbi holds, then all of these cases, halacha l'maisa, in order to be chayiv for Allah b'chutz, it mamish has the same exact avoda, has to be fit to be done bifnim. So that's the fundamental machlokes, and the Gemara ends off without fully resolving it. Now I do want to point out, the oath machlokes of says much, or the oath statement, I'll call it the oath anomaly. The oath anomaly, which is why something that is done b'chutz, if done, it will be chayiv, yet the same act, if done bifnim, will be pater. I will say that's the case of shchita. If you shecht an oath b'chutz and offer it up b'chutz, you'll be chayiv for shchute and halah b'chutz. But yet, if you shecht an oaf inside the base of Mikdash, we'll say, what's the status of the oaf? Status of the oaf? Nevela, it's nothing. It's nothing, so that we'll discuss. Even though it was mentioned in this Mishnah, we're going to see it later on. But let's just do a few lines in the next Mishnah. Mishnah, Chatos shekibel dama b'kos echad, v'nasan b'chutz. So let's listen to this interesting case. So now, we'll say, it's a good day. Chatos is being done inside the base of Mikdash. The Shechita is being done inside the Beis HaMikdash. The Kabbalah is being done inside the Beis HaMikdash. And everything is fine. And then what happens? Except now, what occurs? So the Gemara says, Nasan b'chutz, person then goes and takes the blood outside of the Beis HaMikdash, does zrika on a mizbeach outside of the Beis HaMikdash, v'chazar b'nasan b'fnim. And then he comes back in, brings the blood back in, and now does the zrika inside the Beis HaMikdash. Or, b'fnim. Or he does the zrika inside the Beis HaMikdash, v'chazar v'nasan b'chutz, and then he goes and he does it outside the Beis HaMikdash, chayiv. Ultimately, again, he will be chayiv. In other words, chayiv for the act of zrika b'chutz. He'll be chayiv ultimately again for the act of zrika b'chutz. So we'll say why? Shekulo ra'ui bifnim. Ultimately again because all of this blood is fit to be sprinkled inside. So we'll say because all of the blood is ultimately again in one kli, that is blood that is fit for sacrificial service. Therefore, if you take it outside and you sprinkle it, you will be chayiv. Again, we have to explain a lot in that case. Oh, we're going to talk about that. So the Gemara says, next, Kibo Dama B'shtei Kosa. So we'll say, now here's where it gets a bit more intriguing. Let's say you did Kabbalah in 2 cups. 2 cups, so we'll say 2 kalim. I do Kabbalah literally in 2 kalim. So we'll say, what happens? Nasan Shneim Bifnim Pater. So we'll say, if you go ahead and you do the blood application from both cups inside the Beis HaMikdash, your Pater. And we'll say, now that case, that's obvious. That's saying, if you take the blood of both cups and you do Zrika from them, Pater. So, of course, there's no Chiddush. I didn't do anything. So we'll see. This is just going to be a stylistic issue in the Mishnah, that the Mishnah wants to first go ahead and kind of give us a softball, right? Wants to lob us some easy cases before it gets into the complicated ones. Shneim b'chutz, if you offered up both cups outside, in other words, you did Zrika for both cups outside, chayiv. Echad bifnim ve'echad b'chutz, pater. But let's say if you went ahead and you offered up one of the cups inside, one of the cups outside, you're pater. I was about to say, which makes sense. Why? Because there was zrika done on the inside. Once there's zrika done on the inside, bepashtos, what that means is the other cup becomes kind of just unnecessary. So echad b'chutz ve'echad bifnim. But let's say if I did one of them now the order over here is very important as well. If you look in case number 1, this was echad bifnim ve'echad b'chutz pater. If I did 1 cup on the inside, 1 cup on the outside, I'm pater for the cup on the outside. Presumably because why? Because halacha l'maaseh, I've discharged my obligation for zrika for the first cup, and therefore the second cup becomes inconsequential. Echad b'chutz ve'echad bifnim. If I did the first cup outside, second cup inside, chayiv ala chitzon. I will say I am chayiv ultimately again for sprinkling the blood outside of the Beis HaMikdash, va'pnimi mechaper. But we'll listen to this interesting idea. But the carbon on the inside is still good. So we'll say, this is a great, if you're looking for some Talmudic small talk, and you want to say, where can you ever have a case of where a carbon ultimately, again, could be kosher, bifnim, and chayiv b'chutz, which I both say sounds like an anomaly. The same carbon, kosher, bifnim, chayiv b'chutz, here it is. You have Kabbalah, you do Kabbalah Sadam in 2 cups. In 2 cups. You go ahead and what? You take one of them outside and you sprinkle the blood there, and then you take the second cup, which wasn't removed outside, it's inside, and then you do Zrika on the inside. You're chayiv, Rabbosai, for the act of Zrika outside. You're chayiv for Zrika b'chutz, and we'll discuss the dynamics of this. But the carbon is also kosher with the Zrika done from the second cup. So I'll say, so 1 carbon, liability on the outside and on the inside. I should say liability on the outside, but yet fulfillment of the obligation on the inside. We'll stop with this case. We'll pick up Emirat Hashem with the clarification of this case tomorrow.